All right, let's dive right in. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unlock one of the most incredible biological puzzles that is literally keeping you alive at this very second. Every single time you take a breath, your body executes this flawless, highly complex exchange. It harvests the life-sustaining oxygen you need and perfectly expels the toxic carbon dioxide you don't. But how does it happen so fast, and how on earth is it so efficient? Well, today we're treating the screen like an interactive whiteboard to map out exactly how your lungs pull off this absolute masterclass in biological engineering. So, to really grasp how we survive, we have to start with a mind-blowing number: 300 million. If we pull way, way out from a single microscopic balloon-like structure in your lungs, which is called an alveolus, we have to multiply that by over 300 million. If you were to unfold and lay all these tiny alveoli out completely flat, just look at how their dimensions expand. They'd cover the entire surface area of a tennis court. You basically have an entire tennis court folded up neatly inside your chest cavity. And that massive scale, that is the ultimate secret to human respiration. Here is our game plan for today. First, the scale of our lungs. Second, tracing the path of air. Third, the mechanics of diffusion. Fourth, why alveoli are so efficient. And fifth, acing your biology exam. Let's kick things off with section 1, the scale of our lungs. This massive surface area we just talked about is the primary engine for gaseous exchange. Now, why does this matter so much? Well, especially for anyone sitting an O-level biology exam, understanding the sheer scale is exactly how you're going to earn those crucial marks. Notice the boundary markers here, highlighting the immense physical space required for oxygen to enter the bloodstream and for carbon dioxide to exit. Without this vast interconnected network providing maximum surface area, our bodies simply couldn't harvest oxygen fast enough to support human life. It's honestly a perfect architectural solution. Moving right along to section 2, tracing the path of air. We're now going to track the exact anatomical journey of a single breath of air. First, air enters the nasal cavity. It then travels down, passing right through the pharynx and larynx. Next, the air moves straight down the trachea. From there, it branches out, kind of like a tree, into the bronchi and then into the much smaller bronchioles. And finally, it terminates at those microscopic sacs we mentioned, the alveoli. By visually isolating each step here in our flowchart and dimming the previous ones, you can perfectly track the logical sequence of respiration from the outside world right into your lungs. Which brings us to section 3, the mechanics of diffusion. So the crucial point here is defining what is actually happening at the end of that journey. Gaseous exchange is the biological process where oxygen is taken up and carbon dioxide is released across a respiratory surface. On a macro level, you just see the lung expanding, right? But if we use this split screen to magnify into the invisible molecular behavior, you can see the red oxygen moving directly into the bloodstream, while simultaneously, the blue carbon dioxide moves out into the alveolus to be exhaled. But what's actually driving this movement? Well, it's diffusion. Diffusion is when gases move entirely passively from areas of higher concentration to lower concentration. Notice that thick, heavy red arrow pointing inward? That intense thickness represents the steep concentration gradient of oxygen, super high in the lung, low in the blood, which is forcefully driving it in. Conversely, check out the thick blue arrow pointing outward. That represents the high concentration of carbon dioxide moving from the blood back into the lung. The size and thickness of these vectors dynamically match the sheer magnitude of the gas forces at play here. All right, let's look at section 4, why alveoli are efficient. This next bit brilliantly illustrates the concept of surface area. Let's compare a sponge to a solid block that has the exact same total volume. The thousands of tiny little holes in the sponge, those represent our numerous alveoli. If you drop both of these into water, the sponge absorbs it almost instantly, right? That's because of that massive internal surface area. The solid block, on the other hand, barely absorbs anything at all. The alveoli operate exactly like that sponge, maximizing every single bit of biological real estate available to absorb oxygen into your blood. Now, let's compare a thin straw to a thick straw. The walls of the alveoli and the capillaries surrounding them are just one single cell thick. I mean, that is incredibly thin. Think about drinking a milkshake through a thin, flimsy paper straw versus a thick plastic one. Minimizing that physical boundary distance means the gas transfers significantly faster. The shorter the diffusion distance, the faster the gaseous exchange. It's that simple. Finally, Notice this rich capillary network wrapping around the alveolus like a tight mesh. The blood inside here never stops moving. By constantly sweeping away newly oxygenated blood and bringing in fresh deoxygenated blood, the body perfectly maintains that steep concentration gradient we talked about. Look at how rapidly the flow transitions from blue to vibrant red on screen. This continuous flow is exactly what maximizes rapid exchange. Let's wrap things up with Section 5, Acing Your Biology Exam. Let's tackle a classic worked example. Your exam asks, what is gaseous exchange? Think back to our macro to micro visual from earlier. The perfect textbook answer you need to write down is this. It is the biological process where oxygen is taken up and carbon dioxide is released across a respiratory surface occurring primarily at the alveoli. By holding on to that mental image of the red oxygen vector going in and the blue carbon dioxide vector going out, you will absolutely never forget this definition. Now, here are the absolute most common traps students fall into. First, confusing passive diffusion with active transport. Remember, diffusion is completely passive. It requires zero energy because it relies entirely on the concentration gradients pushing the gases down those directional paths. Second, students constantly underestimate surface area. Never forget that a larger area allows massive amounts of gas to be exchanged simultaneously. It's all about volume and speed. Let's lock this in with a quick-fire recap. Step 1, alveoli are the primary gaseous exchange sites. Step 2, why are they efficient? Because they boast a massive surface area, one cell-thick walls, and a constantly moving capillary network. Step 3, how does it happen? It relies entirely on passive diffusion, from high to low concentration. If you can visualize these 3 physical features, you have completely mastered this topic for sure. To wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with a real-world medical question to chew on. If diffusion absolutely requires a massive, perfectly intact, one-cell-thick surface area, what happens to our bodies and our ability to extract oxygen when inhaled pollutants or smoke physically break down and destroy those millions of delicate elastic walls? Think about how that alters the structural efficiency we just spent time learning about. It's a pretty fascinating and frankly serious biological reality to ponder. Thanks for diving into the mechanics of the human body with me today. And keep exploring.